Back to Mark's pea and asparagus risotto. The wine has reduced with the shallots and garlic and is now ready for the parboiled and cooled rice.
And what we're going to do now is just coat that rice now with all the flavours, just to make sure that each individual little grain is coated. And again, that stops it all from sort of going too stodgy and sticking together. And then what we're going to do, we've got our water essentially here, which we cooked our vegetables in. So you've essentially made yourself a very quick vegetable stock. And a little touch of salt, but not too much because we're adding parmesan. So obviously, as you know, parmesan's quite salty. Whenever you're cooking risottos, always have your stock boiling. Never use cold stock.
But it's something that a lot of people just don't do. They'll make an instant stock with the kettle and then leave it in the jug sitting on the side. And if you're starting cooking your risotto, when it gets towards 20 minutes of the cooking time, that stock is virtually cold, isn't it?
And you want exactly this noise. When you add the stock, you want to hear that sizzle and you want it to come up to the boil instantly. And again, this helps with the sort of speed of the cooking time.
Mark continues to add his stock one ladle at a time, making sure all the liquid has been absorbed before adding the next one. Because the rice was already part cooked, his risotto will only take 6 to 8 minutes to cook through, instead of the usual 18 to 20. Next, Jo prepares her oysters, which she's kept on ice in the fridge.
Take the oyster, so this is a sort of curved side. Towel, stick the curved side in there. You can use like a classic oyster knife and you sort of insert it into this bit here, but I've got these little sort of clipper thing. My fishmonger sold it to me a while ago. This clips the sort of the frilly edge, so as you see, you sort of got the curved side of the oyster which you need to keep flat in your hand, and the flat part here. And you clip this little frilly edge just a little bit. Right. Just make sure you don't get loads of shell everywhere. And then you can insert the tip through there. And it just, going by the advice from my fishmonger a while ago, he said, it's definitely a safer way of opening up an oyster because you can sometimes really struggle.
Where did you get these from, then?
Well, this was from the fishmonger, but I'm assuming cook shops and things would...
Never seen one. In all my years. These are the things you find out now after you've had to spend years and years
trying to open up oysters. So you've got your oyster there, and then you just want to loosen from the muscle. I know. And then you want to keep as much of that juice in there as possible.
Oysters opened, Jo then serves up her passion fruit and sesame and Bloody Mary dressings.
I'm going to put dressing on some of them, as I said, so the flavours will sort of soak in.
That smells amazing, I have to say.
Jo's oysters go back into the fridge whilst Mark puts the finishing touches to his risotto. He adds the blanched vegetables and chopped spring onions to the rice.
A touch more stock, OK? Because now we're essentially going to thicken our sauce. So what we do is a little bit of mascarpone. This will give us sort of creaminess to it. A nice sort of velvety texture. Not too much, you just want a tiny bit of that.
It's very rich, isn't it?
Yeah, very rich. And then we do this off the heat now.
Mark stirs in the mascarpone, followed by grated parmesan.
Now, you see, it's starting to amalgamate.
It's getting there, isn't it?
Yeah, and I like risottos to be really loose and very, very light. So what I'll do is, once I've added all these in, I'll probably let it down again with a touch more stock.
Because also, once it's sitting, it will thicken up a bit on its own naturally, won't it?
Really important point, you do need to let a risotto sort of sit for a minute or two. Butter, it is a nice evening.
What would we do without butter?
Exactly.
And after a little more stock, a drizzle of extra virgin oil and a sprinkle of fresh chives, Mark's risotto is ready to go.
Oh, it looks brilliant.
Shavings of parmesan over the top, just a little bit more, a bit of texture.
And Jo's adding a bit of sparkle to her starter by serving with Prosecco.
So, there is my perfect simple starter. I've got oysters with Bloody Mary dressing and passion fruit and sesame dressing with some Prosecco.
Lovely.
There we go, thank you.
Looks beautiful. And there is my perfect simple starter, asparagus, broad bean and pea risotto, which I hope the judges are going to fall in love with.
Time for Mark and Jo to find out which simple starter is perfect.
Shall I do the deed?
Yes, go for it.
OK, here we go. Right, that's interesting.
Interesting.
The Bloody Mary oysters and passion fruit and sesame oysters got 3 votes.
Oh!
Interesting for me.
Yes, well done. Congratulations.
You got none.
That's good. The best lady won in that case.
The judges liked the fresh, clean flavour of Mark's risotto, but for them, the perfect romantic starter has to be both simple and impressive, and Jo's Bloody Mary and passion fruit oysters had the wow factor they were looking for.